Welcome to Beyond the Chutes in our podcast series, Quiet Enough to Ride. I'm Doug Simcox, and with my partner Sam Swearingen, we're here to talk about the mental side of rodeo because Quiet Enough to Ride is all about rodeo mindfulness. It's about building focus, resilience, and staying calm under pressure, whether you're in the arena or facing life's challenges. With over 100 years of combined rodeo and life experience, Sam and I bring you practical tools, hard-earned lessons, and a deeper understanding of what it takes to succeed. Today we're diving into episode 2, breaking down the rodeo mindset. We'll take a closer look at what shapes the mental game of a successful competitor, from focus and adaptability to grit and determination. We'll see how, just like in life, we rodeo as we live. Let's get started. This is Quiet Enough to Ride. Welcome to Beyond the Chutes, is presented by Parasite Systems. I'm your host today, Doug Simcox, and I'm sitting in our recording studio here in Taylorsville, Kentucky, and it has warmed up. Thank goodness it finally has warmed up. I've got 32 degrees outside right now. My co-host Sam Swearingen on the road again, headed this way. Sam, last you told me you were up around the Cleveland area. Where are you now?
Just south of Columbus.
Oh, so you're making some good time. So the roads are dry. You're doing good?
Yeah, after I got down past Erie and Cleveland, it's been smooth sailing.
Nice.
Way we go.
You bet.
Can't
And
make up that time I lost.
well, when you get here, we'll go get us a nice dinner. We'll sit down. I might have some bourbon, Sam. I don't know if you're a bourbon drinker, but probably shouldn't even put that in the episode, should I?
Well, I don't know. The way I feel right now, I might could use a good shot.
Got a little bit of a head cold coming on, it sounds like.
Something going on. But, yeah, when I called you this morning, I had my pro rodeo fantasy team picked, and I thought you might, and then he said, "Are you coming through?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I am coming."
Oh, that's perfect. So while you're here, I'll put my team together with you. Okay, I'll have a team, you'll have a team, we'll have some fun.
Okay.
Now, every time I do one of these, Sam, it's very easy for me to visualize these cowboys and cowgirls that are running the roads right now. Very easy for me to hope and to imagine that we're part of their journey. Sam, your conversation, our conversation is part of their journey, that we help them stay awake, that hopefully in this series we're putting together, we throw out some breadcrumbs that maybe can be picked up and looked at. So to our rodeo athletes that are taking us down the road with you, thank you for coming along with us and inviting us along with you. And Sam, the rodeo season, we talked about this, is officially ended. All ended on the end of November. We got that 6-week period, 6-week countdown to IFYR 55, which is going to take place January 16th through the 19th, 2025. And we talked a little bit last time of how to make the most of this 6 weeks. And we're hoping, Sam, that this 3 hours podcast series, this rodeo, wrestling, and racing, or is it rodeo, racing, and wrestling? Which is it, Sam?
Yeah, rodeo, racing, and wrestling.
Okay. But it's the 3 R's, right? 3 R's.
Yeah. We'll put the last R at the end.
We do. The last R at the end. And just for everybody, we went to public school. Sam and I did. So that's rodeo, racing, and wrestling. And of course, our series is called Quiet Enough to Ride. So today, Sam, we're going to continue to drill this down. And as we get rolling here, we want to get inside the head of every rodeo competitor to answer a big question, which is, what is the rodeo mindset? So we all know rodeo is about grit, skill, and love for the Western way of life, but what really separates the weekend warrior from the rodeo champion, Sam? What do you think? What really separates that?
The mindset is so strong. We don't know what the mind can do.
Yeah.
But we know it can do a lot,
You bet.
especially to help win, help you calm down and breathe. And
I love it.
sometimes
Breathe.
you have to, everybody gets up, and all jumping around to get on, and then something happens. You have to go down and up. Somebody gets hurt and wounded, you got 15 minutes, and you're bouncing around. I don't exact way it should go, but you can get up too soon.
True.
And then
Yep.
let it all out. So.
Yeah. What a great, you are just the master of transitions, because that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So we want to break it down. The mental mindset of rodeo can be kind of big and unwielding. So we're going to break it down. And there's a lot of components to it. And what's cool about it, for me, Sam, it's kind of like riding broncs. I can say, let's talk about riding broncs. And that's a big, big, big subject if you want to tell me about riding broncs. Because, I mean, you can start with, Sam, well, before you do anything, Doug, you got to know how to put the halter on. We got to break it down into components, which are a little bit more bite-sized, a little bit more manageable for us to work on. We talked about that last time when we're setting our goals or we're setting up our practice, which practice perfect. We need to break it down into its aspects and break it down just a little bit. So the first one, Sam, I'm going to put on the board here. Number one is confidence and self-belief. A lot of what you call swagger. And I would go so far, Sam, and I think I'm interested in what you're thinking here. I believe it's the cornerstone of the rodeo mindset.
I would not dispute that in any way, because if you believe you can do it or believe you can't do it, it's both true.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah.
But with the mindset that I can do it, it doesn't mean you're going to win every time. With that mindset every time. I always laughed, like finals and stuff. They'd send things. What's your favorite rodeo? So they put it in the program. What's your best achievements? What rodeo did you want to win? If I entered it, I wanted to win it.
Yep.
Didn't always happen, but
Yep.
that was the mindset. If I entered it, I thought I could win it, and I believe that's where we need to be in this business that we are in.
And the business we are in. You're exactly right. And as I listen to you, if I hesitate or second guess myself in any of these rodeo events, whether it's bull riding, racing barrels, or bulldogging, if I second guess, the event's already over. It's done. So the confidence, let me say it this way, lets us ride and rope and race, barrel race with conviction. And that means you've got to trust your skills. And back again, Sam, we just keep going back. We got to practice and build those skills. And wouldn't you say that the better my skills, the better my confidence?
Oh, most definitely, because you know what you're doing. If you got your skills right, your confidence is going to be way up there because you know that you can do it. You're doing it all the time in your mind and in your practice scenario, and it's going to carry through to what you're doing.
You bet. You bet. All right. So point number 2 here. So we talked about confidence and self-belief. Now we're going to move on to the next point, focus and conversation. I'm sorry, focus and concentration. We're having a conversation, Sam. Focus and concentration. Rodeo events move fast. That's why intense focus is the key. And you talked about this earlier about people going, I only hear 2 voices or whatever when I'm getting ready. But there's the crowd noise. There's the announcer. There's the lighting. There's the chaos of the arena. it's all background. It's all background to what my job is while I'm there. And is it fair to say that great competitors block it out and stay laser focused on the task at hand?
I don't know if it's fair to say, but I would say it is a necessity.
Necessity. Okay. I love it.
There's so much things going on, and you know, I watched a movie once about the people that were counting cards in Vegas, and they took and did all this noise and banging and dumped ice on them so they could stay focused on counting the cards.
Okay.
And this stuff was going to happen, and they went way over the top, but ones that could go through that, and it was just a group of college kids that were doing it.
Mm-hmm.
They went and wiped Vegas out with counting cards.
You bet. You bet. And you know, where you're leading us is about being in the moment, right? Nothing else matters.
Exactly.
Nothing else matters.
Right.
I'm fully here. Some would say I'm fully present in the present moment. And nothing else matters but my next move, my next bit of routine, whatever it may be. And Sam, this takes us, and we're going to talk about this in the future just a little bit too. And you've talked about this a bit, letting go. If I'm going to be in the moment, I where else would I be, right? In theory, where else am I but right here, right now? And the way I've looked at it is time being a continuum. Well, there is indeed the present moment, but there's also the past where I can focus. And there's the future where I can focus. And when we're not in the moment, we can only be in one of those two other places. And what we see, what we've learned, is that if I focus on the past, I project what's going to happen into the future. So I'm bouncing back and forth between the past, which I believe is going to set out my future. So being in the moment washes all that stuff away. And we'll talk about that and we'll get a little bit deeper on that as we go. But if I'm not in the moment, if you said to me right now, where are you? Well, to be honest, and we'll talk about awareness here in a little bit, to be honest, I'm either right here, focused on what you're saying and what you're doing, or I'm back in the past, remembered something that went on, or in the future, thinking about something I've got to do, I need to do. And I know that Dalen, I believe when he was working with a coach, she would have him write down the things that you have to do as an exercise to get them out of your head. Put them on a piece of paper. You don't need to carry them around.
Yeah, that was very interesting. He told me the things that they had him do. And once you hear it, it makes sense. But who thought of that? You know,
yeah.
I never thought of that.
Yeah. And we carry around so much stuff, and part of it goes to, tasks to do or things to do or dreams I have or wants that I have, whatever it may be. One of the practices is, and we would do this, Sam, before we would start a training, I would typically step them through and say, take a moment and write down all the things you got to do at home, all the things that are on your mind that need to be done at work, or got to go grocery shopping, whatever it is. Oh, got to remember to do this or remember to do that. Write all that stuff down. Okay. And, what are you worried about? Write that down. And I never asked anybody to share. Never, never, never. It wasn't about that. It was about, hey, if you put it on a piece of paper, you don't have to dwell on it in your mind.
Oh, Doug. I thought that was on my do list.
It is on your to-do list. Write it down. So that can be.
Write it down. Stick it in front of you.
Stick it in front of you, and put it in a safe place, right? This piece of paper, Because when you're all done with whatever you need to do, you can go pick it back up. And then you have a choice. You know, this thing I'm worried about, do I need to pick that up and continue to worry about it, or can I move on from that? But we get into this very interesting place of letting the past go. You've heard that. Let it go. Let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. Okay. Racing for me has taught me more about that than anything I think I've ever done in my life. Because you're out there for a half hour at a time. And you're running, 2-minute laps. So you're running maybe 10 laps in that 30 minutes, whatever it is. And in my driving, if I screw up on a corner and I stay focused on that screw up and I worry about that screw up, guess what happens to the next corner?
You mess up again.
Oh my goodness. And in racing, it gets dangerous. It gets dangerous. As a matter of fact, as a high-speed driving instructor sitting in the right-hand seat, when I feel a student is lost focus or is focused on what has happened and not moving forward, I'll bring them into the pits and I'll set them. Okay? And we just catch our breath. We recalibrate, we refocus, and that's, because it's too dangerous. Does that make sense? And all this we do is too dangerous if we're not there and completely focused and in concentration.
Agreed. Focus is immense. And if you can put the past behind you, not think about it. The problem with rodeo is you only have one chance. If you don't do it right then, you're not going to win.
Yep. Yep.
If you don't forget about the past and that, if you're tying a calf, for instance, and the last one you bobbled on, and if you bobble on this one, you're not going to win any money. If you can't forget about that bobble, you're done.
You bet.
It's too tough.
Perfect transition. Let me say it this way. You need to have point number 3, mental toughness and resilience. Okay?
And that was so difficult for me, the resilience, to forget about it and move on.
Yep.
Looking at it now that I'm old, well, you can't change it.
Right.
Learn from your mistake and go on.
Yep.
It just ate it.
So
did something wrong.
If you could have had that tool in your toolbox, that skill in your toolbox, you made a bad ride, you missed a horse out, you should have been more points, whatever. If you'd have had that tool in your toolbox to let it go, move on, let's go the next deal. How would that have changed your rodeo experience?
I think it would have immensely changed it to just even go to bigger and better things in your life.
Yeah.
Yep. You forget about, don't dwell on it. So, maybe go to bigger rodeos, go to more rodeos, because now you're free of the bondage of what you did wrong.
Yep.
You need to open that up, throw it away, and go on. Don't do things wrong. So learn from it if you can. Don't make excuses about it. Go on.
You bet. And we're going to be talking in future episode. We're going to be talking about resilience and that ability to bounce back, right? That ability to move forward. You miss a catch, you took a hard fall, you got to shake it off and get ready for the next ride, period. In rodeo, I'm going to say resilience isn't just a nice to have. You better have it to survive. It's tough. Yeah. It's risky. It's exhausting. The road can be tough. It's downright brutal. And that's where we've got to have this resilience. And it can be built, Sam.
And it can be built. And when you got to make money to stay out there on the road, that's another added issue to it.
Yep.
And I got to win. If I don't win, I'm going home. You know,
Right. Kelly Page
I have to
talked
borrow
about
money
that.
to get home.
Yeah. I remember Kelly Page when we were up at your place, and he was talking about that. Talk about the pressure coming on. If I don't win here, I go home. It's as simple as that. And we're going to move here in just a second into that. How do we handle that pressure and that anxiety? But first, point number 4, the mental mindset, the rodeo mindset, is what we've talked about a bit, which is that visualization and the mental rehearsal. Here's a tool that every competitor needs to have: visualization. And for that, Sam, we want to picture the perfect ride. From the moment you show up at the rodeo to the moment you pick up your check at the pay window. It's like what Dennis Morris told us in his episode. You can't fix your riding while you're riding. And we know that confidence, we talked about it earlier, comes from that preparation. And Dennis shared with us that he says the quiet moments are where the magic kind of happens. So, meaning we can visualize, but we got to be quiet for that to happen. So we're going to be focused on how do we relax, focus, and mentally rehearse the ride that you want to have. So that, Sam, your brain gets comfortable with the win before you're even in the chute.
That is something that is way beyond my thinking at the time.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
My visual rides and all that, but, you know, there was a lot of things I could have done, like visual getting the buckle handed to me, you know, things like that I would have never thought of. Or actually kind of going the other way. Don't go look at the buffalo. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah. You know? Yeah.
No, should be quite the opposite. Go look at what you're going to win.
You bet.
Visualize your bank deposit.
Yep.
Have a bunch of zeros behind it.
The steak dinner you're going to buy.
Yeah. For the crew, because you won.
Because you won. You know, in our next episode, we're going to be starting our journey on how to visualize. So we're not just throwing concepts out here, Sam. We want to make sure that we cover things that, okay, this is the how-to. Okay, this is the how-to. And then you brought this one up. Point number 5 of the rodeo mindset is handling pressure and anxiety. We talked about big crowds, TV cameras, championship rounds. And we know, Sam, we just know that pressure is part of the game, but champions, I'm going to make this statement, champions don't let that pressure rattle them.
Either that or they thrive on pressure. You know, you can make pressure good for you or bad for you. And when you make it good for you, that's probably a champion's right there.
You bet.
You know?
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet. So how do we learn to stay calm under pressure? And you brought it up earlier, breathing, deep breathing, mental routines, or even quick moments of mindfulness can help us settle our nerves and focus on what we do best, which is ride bucking bulls or run barrels or ride bucking horses. And this is something that, again, we can practice. We can build a practice. Whether it's meditation, and people will ask, what's your spiritual practice? Well, practice is a key word there. We practice meditation, and we practice there so we can take that with us in those moments, that experience with us when we're caught up in something that gets us busy or takes our mind off onto wild adventures. Quiet walks, quiet moments, and have a cup of tea in the morning, cup of coffee in the morning, relaxing and just allowing ourselves to be quiet. And then another thing, Sam, in the anxiety of things, how to recalibrate in the moment. What can I do? And we're going to be talking about that about recalibration. We'll be talking about that in an upcoming episode. And then, Sam, I'm going to borrow from you, practice perfect. And when you think about it, most of these high pressure moments, my heart rate is up. I have an elevated heart rate, right? My blood pressure is probably going up. My nerves are, getting wilder and wilder. So look for opportunities where we can practice in those moments that aren't at the rodeo arena. When I first started announcing rodeos, I would go for a run and I would practice with an elevated heart rate. I would practice my openings because that's the nervous moment. So if I can practice with an elevated heart rate, I'm kind of practicing perfect. So if I ride out and my heart rate isn't elevated, I'm still okay. But man, if it's, something just went on, you got to hold them up for 5 minutes. You gotta, whatever it may be. The singer of the national anthem isn't here. Things get elevated. Well, let's think about how to practice perfect and put ourselves in position where we can use that practice and that experience to recalibrate and reset. Then we can apply it in those intense moments.
And that kind of goes with repetition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you know the first time you're in a situation, it's tough. But once you've been there, you kind of know what to do and to think and to work on it. So, more times you were in that elevated announcing moment, the easier it probably got as the years went on.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It took more and more to rattle me, if that makes sense. Been there, done that. I remember Kelly Page talked about when the writing started to slow down for him. And when it's busy, there's things, when it's not slowed down, it's because there's so many inputs that are happening. So much stuff that's going on that I'm not centered and I'm not focused, and we're gonna work towards that. Big part of the rodeo mindset. So any way we can, maybe what, Sam, would be good, and we can experiment while you're here. Do you still have a rodeo livestock hot shot?
No, I do not.
Oh. Because that'd be kind of fun. We could try an experiment. I could be shocking you while you're trying to stay focused. No? No?
Well, yeah, let's see it. I'll try it on you first. And then, we'll see if it works, and then it does. No, and talking about hot shots, they are a useful tool as long as they're used right.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Every time we talk about this, what comes up is branding. I don't know why. That's the only reason I would think to use a hot shot on somebody, because I've heard people get branded. I've heard that in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of our top episodes, by the way. And rolling forward, to your point, goal setting and motivation, right? Goal setting. What gets measured gets done. So how do you set those clear, realistic goals to help keep yourself motivated? And how do goals and motivation go together? Well, if I set a goal and I work towards that goal, it's kind of like when Marv Schimmel told this story, the wrestling coach told this story about doing the near ankle pick, the near ankle grab. What was it?
Yeah, like the head and heel pick where he did right off the whistle, he grabbed the ankle on the takedown.
Yeah.
I forget what they called it. But.
Yeah, and it wasn't a natural move. Everybody wanted to go to the front end. It wasn't a natural move. And he told the story how this guy, I can't get it. And Marv said, no, you can't get it yet. Keep working. Can't get it yet, but keep working. And then he was at some tournament or whatever, and he did it. And he said, look at me. I got it. I'm excited. He couldn't remember if he won or he lost, but he got it. The light bulb went off. He did it.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking about how to set goals, and we're going to use something from the business world called SMART goals, SMART goals. We'll be talking about that in the future just a little bit. Here's one that's near and dear to you, Sam. Positive self-talk and mindset is point number 7 of our rodeo mindset. Here's one for the storytellers. You're the author of your own story. So what I mean by that is, what story are you telling yourself? For an example, is it I always hit barrels? Or is it I'm a focused competitor who runs clean patterns? What do you think?
Say that again, please.
You're the author of your own story. So you get to write your own story. So the question is, what story are you telling yourself if you're a barrel racer? Is it I always hit barrels? Or I'm a focused competitor who runs clean patterns?
Well, of course, you're going to want to tell yourself you're a focused competitor that makes clean runs.
Yep.
If you don't, there's an issue with that.
Yep. And being the author of your own story, you get to rewrite your story. Why not? With the perfect outcome, right? And
just ask me. I was good. I'll tell you I was good. I won't tell you about the bad rides, but I was good.
Exactly. And that positive self-talk, and that means how we talk to ourselves, rewires your brain. It replaces negative thoughts with these new stories that build you up. But we are the ones that have to tell you can have somebody, Sam, all day long, you're so good, you're so good, you're so good. That doesn't mean you believe that internally. So until you and I can catch up with that self-story, rodeo's tough enough, right? Don't let your inner voice make it harder. When I back to my announcing days, I worked with a voice coach. And one of the things, besides learning how to control voice and how to use my diaphragm and that sort of thing, speaking from the diaphragm, she also said, and your positive self-talk before you pick up the microphone is, I'm in perfect voice today. And I did that, Sam, for 20 some years. I'm in perfect voice today. You're writing your story before you start to talk. Next one's adaptability. And in rodeo and racing, and usually in wrestling, nothing goes as planned. Right? In rodeo, maybe the bull's fighting the chute, maybe the ground's muddy. Maybe your saddle broke 5 minutes before you ride. Maybe you get a re-ride. Maybe there's a delay and a complete break due to weather. And great competitors roll with the punches. They stay calm, adjust, and find a way to perform. Adapting and adaptability is the name of the game. Sam, this you got to have stories here.
Yeah, adapting, and mostly it's the weather. If it was raining and terrible, everybody's complaining, and I'd say, it's terrible. Go work a job for 40 hours and then make $400 or ride a bucket horse for 8 seconds in the rain for 2,000. Well, I'm going to keep telling them, it's terrible out here. Yeah, you guys keep believing it. And the whole time I'm thinking, okay, it's my turn. I'm going to do good because I'd rather do this than what I was doing before.
So that positive self-talk for sure. And there's a saying. A friend of mine His son says it all the time. Part of it. It's part of it. Right? The weather, part of it. Broken saddle, part of it. And always can ask at that point, what can I do now? I've got to ask that. How can I adjust? How can I, move forward, whatever the case may be? So.
Yeah. And putting rodeos on is very, very adaptability process.
Make it up as you go. Absolutely.
You're always looking, you know what? You got everything scripted, but something, right off the hop, the horse in the 90 jumps out in with the grand entries going on.
Right. And that wasn't part of the program. I always introduced the bronc in like it was part of the program. No?
Yeah, we planned it that way.
Never. And I'm sure your wrestling matches always went the way you scripted them out.
Oh, right. I was a 4-time state champ the way I scripted it.
But I saw the banner. I saw the picture of the banner up there. Is it York High School? 100 wins. You're one of what, 6 or 7 people up on the wall? 100 wrestling match wins.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
How many people there, but I can count them. Yeah.
Your name's on there. I saw it.
Yeah, the grandkids told me about that. I went to a play the other day, parade. One of them had a parade in the schools.
Oh, okay.
I said, I'm going to take a picture of that and send it to Doug.
There you go. No, it's perfect. It's perfect. So number 9 on our list of the rodeo mindset is fear management, or another way of saying that is managing our fears. And fear is a part of rodeo, Sam, whether it's facing a bull, pushing your limits, getting hurt in the buck and shoot, getting hurt on a horse that flips. Fear, we gotta work from this. Fear doesn't have to stop you. And this is where you came in, Sam, the fear of performing in front of people, on the big stage. And this is what you offered up, was learn how to manage it, learn how to channel it, and use it as a fuel to sharpen your focus and boost your performance. Isn't that what you were talking about moments ago?
It is. You use it to help you instead of fight against it.
Yep.
And it'll make a big difference when you can take that and channel it to be a winner.
You bet.
Because that's what they do. They'll take that fear, whatever it is, and make it their own. They own the fear. They take it over. And it's theirs. And away they go.
You bet.
Go and win.
Go and win. You bet. And there's all kinds of fears, right, Sam? There's fear of injury, of course. It's rodeo. There can be a fear of performing. We talked about that, I think, on our last episode. And Mark Schimmel, the wrestling coach, told us the one, and I think I might have told that last episode as well, about it. Had a really, really good wrestler in the wrestling room. I mean, really, really good. But he couldn't step out onto the mat and wrestle in front of a crowd. So kind of that fear of performing.
And it's I think, more fear of the challenge than what it is. Because the challenge is all around you. So if you're fearing all your elements that's around you instead of embracing them and pushing forward, you're going to choke.
Yep.
You're going to choke.
Yep.
If you don't. If you take that fear and turn it around, look at this opportunity I have.
You bet.
Look at this stage I can be on and go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you just tied into kind of the fear of failing and how to turn that around. What if I go out there and don't make a good ride? And usually the failure isn't as bad as the way we feel when we fail. Does that make sense?
Yep.
We don't feel very, it's not the failing that's,
Feel very good.
it doesn't feel good. And then
Yeah.
you had actually shared during the wrestling episode with Marv Schimmel something I would call fear of succeeding. And if you remember, you said, if you beat me, I would never beat you again.
Yep.
So is that a fear of succeeding?
Completely. It's a fear of not putting everything tied together, not putting it out of your mind that you were beat.
Mm-hmm.
It's fear of success, being the champion. Well, I was second in the tournament. That was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you're second 88 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Knowing what I know now,
Mm-hmm.
it would be so much easier to put all that stuff behind you
Mm-hmm.
and go on. And then nobody ever would tell you that. They would sit you down. They give you a cough drop because you choked. You get the cough drop award for choking.
Right.
But they didn't tell you, okay, you can beat this kid.
You bet.
You just work a little harder, do this a little more.
Yep.
Then you can get it. Then you get it in your head. Oh, I can beat this kid. I've worked a little harder. I've done what it takes to get there.
Yep.
I can beat him.
And to prove that, you had also shared examples. If I beat you, I'm going to beat you again.
Correct.
So, it's if you think about it, there's not a lot of distance between those two positions. And I'm going to point back to the story we tell ourselves, right? Our self-talk. You had self-talk that said, oh, he beat me, right? I'm not going to beat him. I don't know if it was that clear when you did it, and the same self-talk when you walked on the mat with a kid that you would beat. Hey, I've already beat you. Confidence is high. I know where I am. You're going down.
Yeah, you got the swag. You did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's me and you again. And, it's not a big deal. It wasn't. And that could go as far back as, when I was a freshman wrestling. I wasn't very good, but my goal was to beat every freshman I wrestled.
Okay. Back to setting goals.
I thought,
yep.
I thought, well, if I beat everyone that's in my age in the year in school I'm in, I'll be a champ at the end.
You bet. You bet. And that's a good focus. I mean, back to goal setting and that sort of thing. And measuring. You know where you stood every match. Am I beating all the freshmen that are my age? You knew where you stood at any moment, didn't you?
Yeah, you should, yes.
Okay. And what? Go ahead.
It didn't always work,
Yeah.
I might not have beat. The one kid that I couldn't beat, he was the same year as I was in school. And, 2 towns over. We were basically butting heads all year long. And, yeah.
Okay.
If I would have got information that, no, you don't have to lose to him all the time. You don't have to. It's your mind. He's not letting you beat him.
Yep.
And I believe that wholeheartedly now.
You bet.
Wholeheartedly.
And imagine if we could have had, you and I both could have had access to the kind of concepts we're laying out today, Sam.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah.
So here's what go ahead.
Now it would have changed everything.
Yeah. You bet.
And you'd have set goals and things that I never really did as I went on. If I didn't have to tell somebody what I wanted to do, well, it didn't work. Nothing on me because I didn't tell anybody.
You bet. You bet. We
Make
call
yourself accountable, folks.
Yeah.
Make yourself accountable.
That's right. And there's a concept called putting the stake in the ground. This is what I'm going to do. You put it in the ground, you let people know, because now the game goes up. It's like playing poker with money instead of matchsticks. Right?
Yeah.
The cost of entry goes up, the importance goes up. So if I did that with this podcast series, I finally stuck it in the ground and said, this is what I'm going to do. And I talked to enough people about doing it that I got to do it. Does that make sense? And
Yep.
Whatever that is, you put a stake in the ground. Here's what we know about fear. It's all future based. Right? It's all going to happen. It's a liar. Absolutely. But it's all future based. It's not, I mean, there are times when I'm in this moment and there's a bear that's going to swipe me with his paw. That's in the moment. But most fear, let me say it this way, most fear is future based. And if we look at, in other words, fear of what's going to happen. And if we look at what builds that fear for the future, it's our past experiences. And
undoubtedly,
we project our past experiences into the future. So earlier I said, look, there's a time continuum. There's the past, there's the present, and there's the future. And there's the future. If I'm in a fearful mode, if I'm afraid of something that's going to happen, and it's not a bear bearing down on me right this moment, I'm focused on the future. And there's nothing for me in the future other than, okay, let's pay attention here. This could be dangerous, what I'm going to do or whatever. We want to be mindful of that. But if I'm fear-based, I'm out there in the future. I'm not here right now in the present moment. And in an upcoming episode, we're going to be talking about awareness. How can I tell where I am? And that's going to be the concept of awareness. And one final note here, Sam. As we want to be careful in language, to be careful what we say. I shouldn't have done this, or I should have done that, whatever. The thing that comes to mind in the middle of all that is be kind to yourself. Okay? Because that's self-talk. You should have done this, or you could have done that. Does that make sense? It adds fuel to something that doesn't necessarily need to have fuel. And we're going to talk about how we can view the past as an opportunity to help us, not to hurt us. But I say be kind. And if you get yourself caught up in this stuff, in the future, fear of the future performing, whatever, be kind. And we have a saying, begin again. Let it go, begin again. It's okay if I got off into that thought pattern. Let's bring it back. Let's begin again. Any final thoughts on fear management before we roll?
well, and I think we are harder on ourselves than most people are hard on us.
Oh,
So we just have to put it away.
Yep.
And move forward.
well, and I agree with that, Sam. I'm 100% with you. And it went to something you said on our last episode, forgiveness. Forgiveness, right? Can we, 100% right. There's nobody rougher on me than me. I can be 10 times harder on me than you could ever be on me. Okay? However, how to let it go, how to let it move through, and I'm with you. Forgiveness. Forgiveness of those things that we hold on to.
Don't need to beat ourselves up anymore. Just
No.
straighten out and do what you're supposed to.
Do what you're supposed to. And do what you're supposed to is get back to the practice and the routine that you know. Right? That's why we practice. And good segue by me, because our next point in the rodeo mindset is pre-performance routines. Sam, have you ever watched some of these top rodeo athletes as they get prepared? They seem to have a ritual before they compete. They seem to always do it the same way. And I'm going to tell you, Dalen is the perfect example of this. I can watch him at the buck and shoot. He's got a routine. I believe that locks him in and shuts out the noise, but I can almost visualize and tell you step by step every move he makes from when you see him when he gets up on the back of the buck and shoot and it's time to go ride. And
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, then that, you know, he has sponsors, and helmet. You don't even know it's Dalen by his movements.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty easy to tell.
You bet.
So I'm used to seeing it, and it's the same. You know?
Yep.
He'll bounce around on the back of the buck and shoots, and when he gets over the buck and shoots, he stretches a little bit before he gets down, and you know what he's going to do.
You know what he's going to do. Yep.
And it's the same. And
yep.
I crawled into the buck and shoot, it was the same thing over and over and over again. And I tell myself the same thing, live, tuck, charge.
Yep.
Live, tuck, charge, it's over and over again.
So
when I left the house.
Yeah.
Saddle, rigging bag, boots, hat. Still to this day, sometimes when I'm going out the door, I don't need that stuff no more.
Yeah. I'm with you 100%. I believe one of the things I took away, and it was from your and Mike's school, was developing a shoot procedure. There's so much going on. Developing a shoot procedure. So this is what you do when the horse comes into the chute. This is how you put the halter on. This is where you tuck the rein while you're setting your saddle. This is how you set your saddle. This is how you pull your saddle. This is how you measure your bronc rein. And just how important routine is, because that is done without thought. When we practice that and we're consistent with that, and that's a Toyota thing, by the way. You want your workers to know the job so well they can do it without thought. So while they're doing it, they can think of how they might improve what they're doing. That's a Toyota thing. And it's what's called standard work. It's always the same. Now, if I change it, I want to be super intentional about changing it. I'm saying the long, bigger picture. Now, it may have something to do with, I got to attach the buck rein to the throat latch instead of the ring, still can fold into my standard procedure. But I remember one time I was in New Jersey. I had broken my collarbone. I had just switched to riding left-handed from riding right-handed because I broke my right collarbone. And I'm on the bronc, sitting on the back of the bronc, lifting on my bronc rein, Sam, and I realize my bronc rein's on my right side, and I'm riding left-handed. Okay? So focus on I hadn't changed that part of my standard work. I hadn't changed my pre-performance routine. Now, I did catch it before I went out, but it's amazing how you remember something like that.
Yeah. Because it was out of the ordinary. You had everything else the way it was supposed to be.
Yep. So, you said leaving the house. I'll say when you get to the rodeo arena, everything from paying your fees to getting your gear prepared to the opening ceremonies. If you're in the grand entry, whatever it may be, getting your horse prepared and saddle up, putting on your bull rope, crawling in, warming up the rope, taking the wrap, proper body position, preparing to nod your head, and all the self-talk that goes on while that's taking place. But at that point, we're quiet. At that point, we start to get quiet. And these pre-performance routines that we've just described are like mental warm-ups and are part of our mental warm-up game. They help us settle in to focus and get our mind ready to perform again without thinking. And things come up. Things come up. I remember when we had Dalen on when we were in Johnstown. Is that right? Johnstown,
Yep.
Pennsylvania. He was on the
Yep.
show. And we talked about if a bull starts to buck in the buck and shoot, a bit of shoot fighting, he said it's just part of it. I'm getting kind of a pre-ride before the ride begins, meaning he's completely there. I thought that was pretty amazing.
The fight has started.
The fight has started. Yep.
Yeah. That's the first time I ever heard him say that. And I was like, wow, it's good.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
Isn't that good? I love it. The fight has started. Where most people go, oh, he's screwing up my routine. He's taking me out of my game. Yeah. No. You know, back to what I said earlier, part of it. Just part of it. Yeah. And then
click.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
When you complain about it, click.
Yeah, click phone calls. Don't call Tom CARNEY and tell him that. And then finally, the last element, Sam, and we talked a little bit about this, recovery and mental rest. Okay, how can we recover? It's not just tough on our body, rodeo, physically. It can be super hard on our mind, can be super tough on our mind. And to your point, and you brought this up a number of times, I'm just going to say driving 14 hours, replaying a bad ride in your head isn't just exhausting, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Going to wear you out, isn't it?
It sure will. Take you down. Well, unless you're in back sleeping like I was.
Right. Could you let it go if you slept, or did you dream about it?
If I woke up, I'd think about it.
Yeah.
Dream about it.
So to that point, we got to take time to rest, relax, and reset your mental game. And we know that a well-rested mind is just as important as a well-rested body. And to that point, we can set some sleep goals. We can set some practice goals. We're going to be quiet in this moment. I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to talk with somebody. I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to be in the moment, whatever the case may be. And another thing, Sam, the road is hard. Eat properly, sleep properly. Yeah, and be safe as you're driving.
And that goes like Dalen when he first left. He had the little, what's the Prius? He had a little Prius and a thing in there. He kept doing better. And we'd say, Carrie and I and his Uncle Kenny would say, get a room, do this. No, I'm good. But rest is so important. I guess when you're that age, 18, 19 years old, you can lay on the couch and build muscle.
Yeah.
But your mind needs quietness. And as you find out as you go on, rest is huge. Huge.
Yep. And a big part of that, along with that, Sam, is be really mindful of who you're traveling with. Somebody who understands that the mental rest is important as anything else. And we forgot to say, by the way, that we dedicate this podcast series to the teachers and the coaches and the mentors that are out there getting it done. Talk a little bit about, in that context, right traveling partners in the business.
And you want somebody that is like-minded, but hopefully older and has been there and done that, so that they can help you learn the tricks of the trade, and they can talk to you about your ride. Not somebody that's going to say, oh man, yeah, he was miserable, you bucked off, don't worry about it. Now, how can we fix it? Or what did we do right? You don't want somebody just telling you how good you are all the time.
Yep.
It doesn't help you, It doesn't help you.
And you got to be careful too, Sam, who you crawl in with. If they expect to win all the time and they can't I don't know how to say this properly. They've got to
get beat by you.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
And you've had that, right? You had those experiences?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't terrible
Mm-hmm.
bad, but you could just feel the coldness would go out, come on, beat somebody that was better than you. Even, you were young, just starting, and you had a better horse, and you beat them, but they weren't. They were better than you. So you just feel the animosity, and you want somebody to pat you on the back when you beat them and say, "I'll get you next time." Okay, there you go. That's the rivalry you want.
Right.
Now, pat me on the back. Well, you come trying, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yep.
Make it good, not negative.
Yeah. And how to shift, Sam, how to shift to that, and we talked about this a little bit in the last episode, to doing the best that you can on the horse you had. Right? And in other words, it's not me against you. I know ultimately at the pay window it is, but it's really, if I did everything in my power and I got everything out of that bronc that I could get, and I did the best I can, and you beat me, given scoring's fair, you know what I mean? Given it's not too glaring, that helps, doesn't it?
Oh, it most definitely helps. Even if you don't place and you do what you did on that animal the best you could possibly do, yeah, I did what I could. Didn't place, but I did everything I could. You ride a bull and you're 76 points, didn't place.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you rode your bull. You did your job.
Yep.
Did you sit square in the middle and all
Yep.
that stuff? Do you take a steer that nobody's been faster than 6 on and you go be 4-9?
Mm-hmm.
You did the best you could do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Might not place, but you did the best you could do on that steer.
You bet.
So,
and that's a great, I love that you brought this up. One of the books, I think it's called The Four Agreements. One of the questions is, did I do the best that I could do? And if I did, I'm done. I did the best. Now, it may be I'm only a first-year rookie, right? Did I do the best I can do with what I know at this moment? Might be a better way to do it, better way to say it. Did I apply? Did I do the best I can? If I did, then I should be okay, even if I didn't make money. But I love the examples you put up. So, covering a lot of ground in this, and I'm excited, Sam, about where this podcast series and these conversations are taking us.
And that's part of the mental aspect that we're talking about. You don't get down on yourself because you did the best you could on that end.
You bet. So, and we're going to talk about if you didn't do the best you could. Nothing wrong with looking in the mirror and saying, okay, could have done better. All right. And then moving forward into a positive way. What is it I need to work on? What did I just learn from that ride? What is it? And maybe I didn't do the best because I'm tired, because I'm worn out, because I'm sore, whatever it may be. Let's be honest with ourselves. And then, as Tom CARNEY would say, let's pick out 3 things we did right. Let's focus on the good, and let's make the rodeo miles go a little bit easier. Let's think about what's next and where we're going, and let's celebrate those small moments, those small wins, even not, if they're not great big. Let's there's lots of wins in the middle of this, and that's where the goal setting comes in. So there's Sam. We've covered it. The rodeo mindset, broken down into its key parts. Of course, that's confidence, focus, toughness, adaptability, and the ability to handle fear and pressure. It's not just about talent or grit. A large part of it is about mastering the mental game. These are all skills that can be practiced. And one final word here. Remember, you're the author of your rodeo story, so write a good one. Stay positive and keep putting tools in your mental toolbox. Sam, any final words before we say good day?
I just want to go back and thank the teachers, coaches, and the mentors.
Absolutely.
They've done these kids and all the ones that helped my kids along the way. I appreciate it.
You bet. Well said. Well said. And thank you. I've watched you coach and mentor a lot of people, myself included, over the last 30 years, Sam. So thank you. And to our listeners, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Good. Big part of it. Big part of it. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Beyond the Chutes. If you've got questions or want to share how you build your rodeo mindset, we'd love to hear from you. Go to our BTC, our Beyond the Chutes Facebook page, and leave us some messages. And until next time, keep your focus sharp, your confidence strong, and we'll see you down the trail. This is
Sam Swearingen
and Doug Simcox. Thank you for listening.